We hope you find this session useful in learning more about guided pathways, what has happened so far in the first year, and be able to ask your questions and share your thoughts with us. So let's start with some introductions. My name is Shelly Tiwari. My official title is Director of Faculty Development and Student Success at the college, and I've been here for about 15, 16 years. I was previously a faculty member in the math department for about 10 years. So I have teaching experience before coming to the administration. And one of my largest roles right now, in addition to supporting the Center for Teaching Excellence and faculty development, looking at those, is overseeing the implementation of guided pathways as initiative that we're here for. So that's a little bit about me. But why don't we go around the room a little bit and learn a little bit about your area and how long have you been at Triton? So Brenda?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. I'm noticing under participants, there are two Brendas, and it's possible I'm signed on somewhere else.
Oh, that's possible.
Yeah. So my apologies for that. I think I know everyone who is currently present. So I would just say, because, well, not even because of, but in light of my many years and the various roles that I have been involved in, and my current role as Special Assistant to the President, I am very interested in learning more about how the college is moving forward with guided pathways. I obviously have other avenues through which I obtain information, but I always welcome the chance to hear from others and to learn more. So thank you.
Thank you, Brenda. Hillary, would you like to do a brief introduction with our small group here? Hi, Hillary.
Hi, I think I know all of you, but just for fun, I'm the Dean of Academic Success. I've been here about 6 years, started off in the library, and academic success includes all of our academic support areas, such as library, tutoring, peer mentoring, retention alert, CAS, TRIO, ETRC. So I look forward to participating and listening and learning today. Thanks, Shelley.
Thanks, Hillary. Good to have you. Would like to go next. Jean, would you like to do a little brief introduction?
Sure, I'd love to. Hello, everyone. I'm looking forward to hearing all the good stuff about guided pathways, and I want to make sure that I can be involved in assisting you as much as possible. My role is decision support specialist, which means I work with colleague and web advisor to make sure what you need is, for the student to have, that I can make it work for you. So I've been at the college since 1998, teaching, managing, a bunch of different things, and it's just it's a great pleasure to see some new things happening for our students that hopefully will make it a lot more smooth with their transition from high school and other schools.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jean. Maria?
Hello, everyone. I am the manager of Audiovisual Services and the Performing Arts Center. I was part of College Council, and during that time I learned a lot about other aspects of the college that keep me interested. Right now I am a virtual navigator, so I'm trying to help students along the way, and I thought by coming in and learning a little bit more about guided pathways that it will help me help our students even more.
Great. Thank you, Maria, for being here today. So as I'm looking around and your roles, and I get this question often, how does that impact me, right? Like, how does my role fit in the guided pathways? And as we move along, if you are not that familiar with the concept of guided pathways and what has happened, I think hopefully you'll start to see where we all fit in. And, some ways our roles and our departments align directly with what you'll see under each, specific goal of pathways. And sometimes we're supporting, right? We're supporting the initiative and the goals we have laid out. But let me know. Let me know if you have any questions on that. So we'll get started. Actually, before we even go to the data slides, a little bit of a context on that. It's guided pathways is a model. If you're again not familiar, it's still a relatively newer model. Not all the colleges have it, but more and more community colleges specifically are really seeing the value of building guided pathways and implemented some aspects of this research on guided pathways. But research is really done in 2015 by some researchers from CCRC. That's the Community College Research Center. You might have heard about Thomas Bailey and Jenkins, but if you research in Google, you'll be able to see some of their research on that. Really, in a simple way to put it, the idea behind guided pathways is that our community college students are more likely to complete a degree or a certificate or the program that they've come here for in a timely fashion if they get on a path early on. And you'll hear this word path, throughout the presentation and wherever we have used guided pathways in that context. And really, the idea is that students need to have a clear roadmap for where they want to go, how they would get there. From beginning to end, students need to quickly decide what program they want to study. They don't already have an idea. In the program, they need to know what courses will really help them complete the degree. If it's about transferring, what courses will help them transfer where. If it's about receiving a certificate to get a job, what courses will get them there sooner. And are they receiving guidance and support to help them along to stay on that plan? So that's the ideal way. That's how it should happen, right? But in traditional sense, and most community colleges, to many extents so far, we are also working under a very traditional approach. And you might have heard this word called self-service or cafeteria model. Again, if you do a little bit more research on guided pathways, that's how they describe the current model in which many colleges operate, which is where students are given lots of choices, or choices galore. You talk about choices, right? But choice in itself is not a bad thing. And this is also described in behavioral economics. If you do a little bit of research on that choice in itself is not a good thing, but too many choices without guidance, without information about a criteria on how to make choices really leads to poor decisions or indecisions. And we're talking about our, again, community college students, right? So this is where they, again, have difficulty navigating the choices, the abundance of choices, whether it's in our programs, under the programs, our courses, it's about services. And this becomes more serious problems for students that are more first generation, low-income students. They don't have any time or so much finances or resources to waste in taking the courses that do not count, So this is why they need to have students need to have very clear roadmap. So this is what the main idea behind guided pathways. Now, whatever I have described here is very much reflected in our own data. So it's not something that we are saying, well, it's a nice research. I'm sure it happens in other colleges. I don't know what's happening here, but why did we decide to do that? Why did the institution decided to put in all the effort and put all the energy and resources behind us exploring this model and bringing it here at Triton? Because if you look at some of our data points, for example, the one that's here, they're quite alarming. It really reflects what we have just heard about national data. So in fall 2019, 16% of our course enrollments resulted in a withdrawal. So that's a problem here. Only 74% of course enrollments were successful. So 6% of courses students were not successful. Talking about completion and completion on time, 1/3 of our completers took 4 or more years to graduate, wherein a degree that we list as a 2-year degree, instead of 2 or maybe 3 years, they take 4 or more years. So if you really look at it, 4, 5, 6, it takes a long time for them to graduate. And if they graduate, for those who graduate, they graduate with excess credits for courses that they do not need, and our average is about 80 or more. So as you can see, some of the issues that we have talked about, and I'm sorry, I don't know why this chart is looking a little different here. I should have tried this, so my apologies on this, but this is showing a little bit of the data on achievement gaps and low retention rates, and the discrepancies we see are minority students, students of color, for example, African American students and Latino students, and how this disproportionately affects them. So I will be sending this out to the presentation to the group so you can see this a little bit better way. But this really shows the discrepancy. So in all of this, the largest group that kind of gets in this churning is, again, our disadvantaged students. So, well, in order to solve this problem and try to bring this model to Triton, the administration committed to putting a structure together that can start to look and dig and research a little bit on how we can effectively implement guided pathways. So about a year ago, today is October 20th. So just about 13 months ago, we had a guided pathway steering committee that was put together. I am the chair of that committee, and we had folks from all over the college, from different capacities, different areas. As you can see, we have faculty and faculty from different departments, bringing their expertise, bringing their voices. We have student affairs, we have advisors, we have institutional research, we have, dean of retention and student engagement. We have transfer center folks, so important. And so try to bring in expertise and put a committee together that can start to implement and research guided pathways. This was our charge, initial charge, okay? And I want to introduce, actually, I want to take 1 second. I want to introduce one of our committee members. I'm going to make her moderator so she can stand out. Lisa Sambra was able to join. Unfortunately, the time did not suit the rest of our members, so I'm happy to have you, Lisa, here. Lisa Sambra is one of our steering committees. Thank you, Lisa. That's not a problem. Thank you for being here. So this is our charge. Identified areas of study, we'll talk about that a little bit. Create and establish other work groups to make sure that the work, we're able to carry on the work, map degrees and certificates, propose the review and redesign of student experience, plan for integrated technology infrastructure, and communication and engagement. Those are our main charge. And our first task was to really define what we mean by guided pathways for Triton, right? So there's, again, we looked at a lot of research. Our members spent the first few weeks doing a lot of research on how it's, what the research actually says, what does a CCRC suggest? The first thing they suggested, you have to see your college and see what suits us. So this is a one-line simple definition that we created. It very simply defines, at Triton College, we're looking at guided pathways as structured. So structured is an important word, to redesign the student experience at our college from entry to exit. And that's, again, entry to exit. So we're looking at all aspects of student experience. So looking at this as a guided pathways is a big puzzle and looking at its pieces, again, from entry to exit, what is happening. So when we looked at the research, the model they suggested, we just adopted it as it is. There's no argument to really go away from that. That made a lot of sense. I don't think I mentioned that we also have along our path, our journey and guided pathways, helping us, guiding us is two of our coaches, Achieving the Dream coaches, that have been trained for guided pathways, and they've been advising, and they've been really great resource in this journey, because it again sounds easy, but it has been quite an undertaking. We ensure that every step we're taking is very much research based. So they suggested looking at the structure suggested for guided pathways, which really looking at the journey from entry to exit as 4 pillars of guided pathways. So we based all of our work around, keep it simple, around the 4 pillars. Starting from the entry point, clarify the path. So I think it's pretty clear what clarifying the path means. We're clarifying the path for students. If they say a program, they know exactly again, what courses they need to take under program, what will it get them? Again, does it lead to further education? If yes, to which colleges? Does it lead to career? Again, which career we're talking about and exactly how much time will it take? What courses do I need? What other kinds of milestones do we need? So very clear idea on which is again, very unlike what we have currently. So we started on this path. Our pillar 2 is when we have clarified and created the path for students, we help them enter the path. And that's as important as clarifying, right? We have to help when they're coming and looking for information. So looking at our intake processes and onboarding processes to ensure that students get on the path as soon as possible, right? Because again, if you look at more of our data, and I don't have the concrete numbers, but many of our students also come very undecided, right? They don't know what to, so all the guidance that we're talking about is up front, and during the process. So really redesigning and looking at from students' point of view. So once we have created the path, we have helped them enter the path. Well, then the key thing is, how do we keep them on the path? And this is as critical, because no path is as good if they're dropping out for the barriers that they might be facing for several reasons, right? So this is, again, a very critical pillar. So just so you know, and we'll talk a little bit more about this further down the road, we are really currently putting our energies and made a lot of headways in the first 2 pillars. We have 2 work groups actively working on these goals of the first 2 pillars, and we've just started to plan a little bit more on pillar 3 and pillar 4, which is something our advisor, our coaches, our ATD coaches have advised that it's time for us to start looking at pillar 3 and pillar 4. That do not undermine the importance of that. So stay on the path, okay. And then last but not the least, we have to ensure that, well, students are learning, right? That's what they're here for, education. They're building the skills across the curriculum. They're learning what they're supposed to be learning in the courses. So what does it take? Again, something that we'll be planning more deeper to think about launching again 3 and 4, hopefully by the end of this year. Okay. So just a little bit more about our structure. So within the first few months of launching the committee, we went ahead and we created 2 work groups, pillar 1 and pillar 2. Pillar 1 is again focused on clarifying the path. We decided on 2 chairs, 2 great people, co-chairs, Nellie Marcial, who is the director of Transfer Center, and Dr. Sheldon Turner, who is a science faculty, have been leading this charge along with several of our key faculty members and advisors, and really made a lot of progress in Pillar 1 in helping clarify the path for students. And pillar 2, enter the path. One of our co-chairs of this pillar is here with us, Hilary Meyer, a new co-chair of this. I'm so glad that Hilary could be here with us. We call it pillar 2, enter the path, student onboarding work group. So Denise Jones, the Dean of Retention and Student Engagement, and Hilary have taken this charge to really looking at the student onboarding aspect of guided pathways. To help support these 2 pillars and other work of the guided pathways, we also have 2 more active work groups. Technology, looking at technological aspects, what kind of tools and support will need, both the pillars will need in order to implement pathways. Co-chairs, Nancy Guzman and Ian Fuchs, and then communication and engagement is an ongoing thing. It's very, very important in this, and this open forum is one example of that. Like all the research said that you need collaboration, you need engagement, you need participation, informational sessions. So we've been trying to do, it's not been that easy since the pandemic, and we've been virtual, but any chances we get to again engage and inform, and, people, employees as much we can. So this work group's done a lot of efforts, and Lisa is Lisa leave? I know she's having some technical difficulties. Lisa and Hannah are co-chairs of that. They've done a lot of created a lot of wonderful communication pieces. One of them is this
I'm here,
logo.
Shelley,
that,
just so you know.
Yeah.
I am here.
Okay. I'm not. Oh, they were here. Okay. Hi, Lisa.
Yes, I had to rejoin.
Okay. It says left, Lisa, and then I didn't see you join. So, okay, great. That's great. So they've done a lot of great work in, again, marketing and communication. That's an ongoing thing and will still continue because, as you can never communicate enough, right? So that's all going. Okay, so I'm going to maybe pause for a few seconds to see if anybody has any thought. I want to take the next few minutes to just dive in a little bit deeper into our goals under pillar 1. What have we accomplished? What are our goals, etc. But maybe I'll take a few seconds, see if Lisa wants to say something, and if anybody has any thoughts, questions, anything they would like to share.
Yes, I really liked the overview that you shared. Thank you so much for doing that, Shelley. And I guess I just want to reach out to the folks here in the chat and welcome, first of all, welcome them and encourage you to sort of let us know like what the fuzziest part of all of this is for you. I think it's all pretty straightforward. Of course, we're all working towards student success, and I think that the pillars, obviously, they make intuitive sense as educators and administrators. So we can talk about the work that we've done, but if there's anything here that you have concerns about that may impact your own area, or if you're unclear about how your own work will connect to guided pathways, please let us know, because we want to know what you want to know. And we want to make sure that we are getting the message out there, especially if something is confusing or unclear.
Thank you, Lisa. Okay, no thoughts so far. Well, keep thinking what else you would like to share. So I'll take a few more slides. So pillar 1, we also ended up creating a project plan. It was important with the scope of this project being, again, it's a big, again, we don't want to call it a project. Our coaches advised against calling it an initiative project, but we, in some aspects, we do have to look at how we want to plan for it. So it's important to plan. So under pillar 1, we identified some goals based on the research and our data and what makes sense. And so what you're seeing listed on the left side are some of our goals and objectives we tried to accomplish in our first year. So created meta majors. We now call it areas of study. And really the idea behind areas of study is grouping some thematic groupings of our several programs. As you know, we offer more than 100 programs or 150 programs. So just having, instead of having it listed as alphabetical, so help students navigate and being able to select programs. So if they don't know specifically, well, which program do I want to go as soon as they come, if they have some idea of some broad, again, theme or category of their interest, that they can help, start narrowing down from an area of study rather than a program. So that was the sort of the idea behind creating. So we created successfully 7 areas. I'm going to show you the icons if you have not seen it. We have created guiding principles to start looking for program maps. I will show you a sample program map if you have not seen it. Over summer and actually end of spring, program mapping clarify the path. The first work group spent a lot of time, again, with researching based on these principles, created some draft maps that, as some of you may know, our faculty are looking at this right now and providing their feedback on. As of now, we have full maps for full-time students, but the idea is also to create it for part-time students, because we recognize that we have more part-time students. We have to look at their needs, and partnering with high schools and transfer institutions. So we're making great progress, and we are, again, this is October, we're getting close to wrapping up most of our draft maps, hopefully by the end of this semester, to, again, get the faculty feedback, come to a consensus, and get them through our curriculum committee, which is the curriculum committee is our, as you know, is our shared governance committee. It's a structured, so we want to ensure that we have them approved as we foresee. This will be, this is a task we have, the work group members have created the maps for the first time, but this is something that we have to embed and institutionalize. So the faculty can, moving on, can look at the principles and follow those. And to help that, the work group has created a rubric that will help support the creation of new maps. So that has been quite an achievement. We wanted to ensure that faculty voice is there as well as student voice, right? So we've done several student focus groups to get feedbacks on previously when we created areas of studies to make sure that that makes sense to them. And also once we had some program maps, we took students' voice and their feedback and made changes on the draft map. So that has been quite a journey. And then, of course, with the help of our transfer folks, they have done a very good job, and we're strengthening our 4-year transfer partnerships. Okay, so this is a visual, an icon, something, again, Lisa's work group has taken, is really responsible to get this happen. So these are our 7 areas of studies. So all our 100+ programs do now fall under one of those 7 areas of study. So again, help students look at them and look at the broadly, that they're not really, again, sure of the program, but they have some idea about them. I'm looking at the chat. Are the student focus groups notes available, Hillary? They're not publicly available, but if you're interested, I can certainly share with you. That's a really good question. They're not on the portal page, but we have them with them. Yes, please, absolutely, would love to, no problem. Jean, you have a thought. Please go ahead.
Yes, I just have a question regarding the icons. I was wondering, are these universal as far as like worldwide, or how did you create these, or were they already in place at other areas?
No, and Lisa, please feel to chime in. I know Lisa worked closely, Lisa's team worked closely with marketing, but these were created by marketing. There were some designs that were given to the work group to just, again, vet and discuss and see what makes sense, but they're not universal. This is very much Triton's own, created by marketing and vetted and discussed within the Guided Pathways work group and steering committee and come to a consensus.
They're very nice. I like them. They're very nice.
Oh, yes.
And I think that by looking at them, I can say what it is, food.
Thank you,
my
Jean.
heart.
Thank you so much, Jean. Sam developed these, and he did look at the icons that are being used for guided pathways at other community colleges, and just really tried to develop something that was unique to us, but similar in the sense, these kinds of areas of study you will see when you look at other institutions. So you will see this kind of iconography, but these particular ones are created by Sam.
Right. Good. Thanks. Yeah. So you will, I mean, the colleges that have implemented guided pathways and created areas of study, and there's different terminology used for that, have used icons. So yes, we did do research. We did research, but then we decided on these icons, and we love them. I especially love the bright colors. And you will see them if you haven't. I think I've included the link. It is very much, let me see where it is. I'm curious to show everybody. Oh, maybe it's way down. Oh, there it is. They are very much live as a part of the New Guided Pathways website. So if you haven't checked it out, I would recommend you check it out, because it just doesn't have the icon, but the programs and the way how it's been organized is very student-friendly. Language in there, it's all active. So if you go on our main website, look under academics. And right now we have not changed the link to areas of study, but that's the intent. I think it's under, if you look under academics, it's going to be under degree and certificate programs. But at some point we want to change it to just areas of study. So, all right. So a little bit about, well, we've talked about our different programs go under these different areas. As far as the programs themselves are concerned, we've talked about, again, having a clear roadmap. So that's what the idea of a program map is. And I'm just sharing with you, I don't know how much you can see a little bit, but hopefully after the end of the semester, by spring at some time, you'll start to see them being populated on the same place where we have areas of study posted on our website. But the idea, again, just wanted to show you a little bit about how the program map looks, what the students will see. It's a very student-friendly document, and it'll be also on the website where they'll see what the program is supposed to do. So simple description, and it gives them some guidance, and then it starts talking about each semester's plan. And as I said in the beginning, this is currently for full-time, but the idea is as soon as we wrap this up and get to the curriculum committee, then we'll start looking at program part-time maps. So this is based on a 4-semester plan. So semester by semester courses and what do they need to do right now. What you see next steps are blank, but we're filling them out. What else do they need? When do they need to graduate? What are the milestones and those kinds of things. So this is very much in process and proceeding well. Under Pillar 2, and I'm going to let Hillary, if Hillary wants to chime in, but a little bit about that. As I said in the beginning, it's all about helping a student enter the path successfully and get on a path as soon as possible. That's the idea behind that. So we have some of the goals listed under this is about streamlining student onboarding processes, looking at orientation. I know the group has looked at new orientation, new format for orientation, and are we researching first-year experience. We're looking at assigning, and I think all students are assigned an advisor, but helping new students explore options for careers and further. This is important, right? Because again, when we talk about putting them on the path, what if students come with no idea what to do? So what is the institution doing? How do we help them narrow down their choices? So something that is not directly coming from Guided Pathways, but another big initiative, and we have collaborated on various levels, is from Title V. Actually, you'll see this here on the right side, that in order to have supported the Title V team for the implementation of a career coach, which is a tool that helps students explore and do career exploration early on. Okay. So that has been helpful. and ensuring that all students have academic plans. We're not there yet, but the idea is that they end up ensuring that all students do end up having an academic plan with them, again, as soon as possible. So lots of things have been done, and again, it's in progress. As I mentioned, Hillary, do you want to say anything, or you don't have to? I'm just giving you an opportunity. You're the co-chair of that. About two, any thoughts about Pillar 2?
Yeah, it's huge. It's a lot of work.
It is.
But I think, it's interesting to think about Pillar 2 when Denise and I are co-chairs, and we very much have retention in our areas, and I usually live in Pillar 3, but if we do Pillar 2 right, Pillar 3 in a way can take care of itself, because it's, we look at the first year experience, Denise and I really, have latched on to the word belonging, and that's making sure our students know they are a part of a community and have that mutual commitment and those relationships built. So it's really, definitely a sequential, sort of developmental, iterative kind of. When you say pillar, and when you even look at the little icon, it's very distinct, but they really are very merged and interconnected.
Absolutely. Thank you, Hillary. I very much agree with you. And, this is also the research when you read articles and what other colleges have done. It's very much out there that if you do 1 and 2 right, not just 1, not just 2, but there's a lot of overlap in the pillars too. But absolutely, if you've created a clear path for them, if you've helped them enter, it becomes much more easier to keep them. And there is advising. I think advising is one of the components that is common in 2 and 3, right? Because advising, they get advised to help enter the path, but then advisors are also helping them stay on the path. So we're very much in the planning stages for Pillar 3, and would welcome your ideas on that. So there are some very, again, I was hoping to not talk and give you guys some opportunity, but I know it always becomes a little bit longer. But our other year 1 accomplishment that are not necessarily from the pillars themselves, but a lot of other work, and I know I have not listed everything, but again, going to back to communication and engagement, we decided early on that we do need to have a glossary that will help us establish a common language. And again, there's lots of words, like I said, pathways, right? Pillars. So how do everybody knows what we mean, maps and areas of study. So if you want to learn more about it, and this is a very living document, and I'll share our portal page where we have posted a lot of information on guided pathways and about the committee's work and etc. You will find it there. We have established goals and key performance indicators, and how do we track success, and what does it mean when we say success, and how do we measure that? So we established that. The other two on the top, you see it's something that we started by, we call it low-hanging fruit, but when we started working on that, we realized it's not really low-hanging. So there were not directly under per se guided pathways, but it helps again for student success. And it's one of the things that has come to our attention, that it's again posing unnecessary barriers for students, and they would prefer to have a colleague ID number on the ID cards, because it's again unnecessary step that students have to, it wasn't available. So one of our coaches advised early on to look at, some of the goals you've listed is going to take some time, and to keep that momentum going and to still be able to do something and build upon that, why don't you guys go ahead and identify some low-hanging fruits? I'm very happy to say that we were able to accomplish those very early on. So having a colleague ID number on the ID cards is one of the first steps that we did. So I'm very proud of that work. And again, use of preferred names for students is something that again came up during the discussions that has been adopted by the college. Okay, so as I just said, we have just started to begin planning for Stay on the Path. I don't think I mentioned the CRM advice date, but maybe I already. So there is, yeah, I think I might have skipped that. One of the recommendations that came from the steering committee was adoption of a technology tool, a platform. And Hillary would probably be able to give you more, but I'm also looking at the time. This is a tool that's going to help us support case management, advising, and wraparound services and retention initiatives like retention alert and support that. So we recently found out that our recommendation was accepted, and in fact, the institution is moving forward with purchase and implementation of that tool. So that's exciting. And I also believe, and Hillary will probably echo that if we do that, if we implement that piece right, that can also address a lot of Pillar 3 goals. So it's exciting. It's still it's a big effort. It's again led by Hillary and Denise, their leadership and IT, and we're excited about that. So these are some of the goals, and stay on the path. Are there systems in place for students and advisors to track students' progress, identify students at risk, ongoing intrusive advising? That's the piece I said, the advising comes in both the pillars. Class scheduling is being planned to fit students' plans and schedule, right? We're really mindful about the classes that are available, right? And another thing that comes is, well, we're putting the classes on the map, but are we ensuring what we're putting on the maps, are those classes available for students to be? So some of those connections we have to start making. Redesign support services to meet students holistically. So these are some of the goals, again, planning in progress. We will be creating a work group eventually, hopefully soon, that will take charge of accomplishing some of these goals and more. So, and I'll take a little pause here. And are there questions, thoughts, or anything so far?
Hi, Shelley. I'm so excited about this because as I'm reviewing this, I'm thinking about all the tools and the ways, especially communication, that we could utilize colleague that we have already. And CRM Advise works seamlessly with colleagues. So I think we're in good shape. It sounds good.
Absolutely.
Jean, thank you, Jean. That was Jean speaking, correct?
Yes, it was, Lisa. Thank you.
Great. I wanted to say, first of all, thank you for that. And I also want to say that, Jean, you have a lot of institutional knowledge here that can be very valuable to us in the committee. So please feel free to email us. Like the whole committee will get emails at gpscommittee@triton.edu. And one of the things that would be good for all of you is to sort of start to identify anything that looks like a student barrier that can be overcome with some updated procedures, some clarified goals, if there's any technology, so if there's something that you're aware of that may not be something that we're aware of in our committee, please bring it to our attention. We want to uncover. We're gonna think of these problems as gems to uncover, because once we uncover them, and correct them, that's when it all starts to really work, and we get so excited about it. So, like, really start to take a look at whatever you all are doing in your daily work, and from a student perspective, what are the barriers that you are seeing? And then on an institutional perspective, what are the barriers to your work being done well and efficiently? Because that also does translate to student success too. I don't think I need to explain to you how, being able to do our job well does actually impact the students, but it does. So I just wanted to say, Jean, I know you have a lot of information. You know a lot about all the systems that we use. So please write us an email or give us a call or just let us know what you're thinking.
Sure, it would be my pleasure. And also just feel free that along the way, if you think of something, even if it sounds crazy, don't think, oh, we can't do that with colleague or whatever. Just ask me and I'll be happy to make an attempt to get it to do what it needs to do.
Great. Thanks, Jean. And yes, I do remember a conversation about CRF by the very easy integration with our current system. So it's one of the features that, kind of attracted us to that. So yeah, we're hopeful, we're excited. Okay, and I'm not going to spend too much time in it, but this is, we do have to start planning for Pillar 4, which is again about learning, very much teaching and learning, focused, active learning, and some of the work has been accomplished with our assessment efforts, but more has to be done, so that more to come on that. And I think I already covered a little bit about our goals for year 2, which started in July, and what we're currently doing and hope to do. Clarify the path, faculty feedback, integrating the process with curriculum processes, keep looking at the website, incorporate program maps, and then hopefully we'll be able to you might be able to look at a different and redesigned version of our college catalog. So maybe this could be for our next discussion. I did mention here, and it's actually advise. And again, year 2 goals for Pillar 2, lots to come. And this is again, the group, this is the place where we'll start to begin to prepare to operationalize those maps that we'll start to get in spring, right? And how to embed them in student experiences so they start using the maps. So some of those things are coming in year 2 of Pillar 2 work group. And these are some of our key performance indicators that we're hoping to start measuring from next year. And this is, just to conclude, this is kind of have been our Bible. And this is what the book that our coaches suggested in the beginning to start looking at it is really, really informed a lot of our decision, and it's been really, really good reading to really look at some of the ways that, the colleges went about this, what worked, what didn't work. So I know right now we're virtual in the CTE, the physical space in CTE. We have several copies of this. If you're interested, one day we can find a time if you want to borrow it, no problem. Otherwise, this is also available in, as an ebook. So if you're interested in reading more in depth, I highly, highly recommend reading this book. Now, I know we have not covered, and it's impossible to cover everything in an hour with, again, the breadth and the, just the scope of the, this work. But we try to gather resources, as we learn, as we implement, to start putting things together. So we've created a dedicated portal page on our Triton portal under employee resources. So as things come, we post them there. So you'll find glossary. I think we also have an FAQ, frequently asked questions there as we start populating, and you'll find the presentations and project plan, communication plan, and several other resources. So that's the best way to learn. As Lisa said, please feel free to send an email. We may not know, as I always say, we may not know everything. We're not going to know everything. So if you're learning things, if you think we can do something differently, as I said, the 3 and 4 are very much in planning. Please let us know your thoughts. Share your ideas. Visit our meeting. You're most welcome. And just drop an email. We want to hear from you. So I'm going to stop as much as and I've been a teacher, right? It's very much against the nonstop lecturing. But we still have a few minutes. Yeah, every time I'm like, oh boy, that's not a very good teaching principle. But we still have a few minutes. So what do you want to share? What do you guys want to question, thoughts, ideas? What do you think?
I have a question for Shelley and Lisa. I know you're still working on faculty feedback on the areas of study. But I was wondering, because I remember back when we were actually able to be in person together, there was certainly a lot of understandable hesitation and concern from various faculty members about this whole process. And I'm just wondering what you've heard so far. If you've heard faculties, have they have been able to change minds? Are people more on board? Are they, what are you sort of sensing or hearing so far?
I can speak to that if my connection remains clear. I've been bumped off a few times because I'm having connections issues today at home with my home internet, so I'm very sorry. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Lisa, go ahead, Lisa.
I am in the program mapping work group as well as the communication work group. Um, and we've been meeting with faculty, and for the most part, depending, I would say in many of the career areas with stackable certificates, often students are following a pathway type thing already. So they're very happy to sort of have this codified. We're codifying the maps into the curriculum process, which is again going to make it easier to read, easier to update, easier to know what's being changed and when and why. We developed a rubric, and I'm sorry if I had lost connection while you talked about this, Shelley, but
No problem.
we did develop a rubric that's going to be incorporated into the curriculum process. Now, in terms of individual faculty members in the arts and sciences area, there's been some concern. I think one of the biggest things is that, and it is an unknown right now, is how the maps will impact scheduling. And so one of our big items to sort of consider and problem solve right now is to figure out, is sort of to bring scheduling into the conversation and to figure out how to best leverage any scheduling software that we have to figure for courses in such a way that students on a pathway will be able to take what they need to take to complete on time, to have that credit um, momentum going. So, um, am I still good? Can you still hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Great, thank you, Shelley. I appreciate the feedback. I just it's touch and go here. So, and I think that in some ways, some faculty have been concerned that courses will no longer be offered if they are not on a map. And so we are definitely, really trying to figure out how that impacts a department and the faculty in that department. But for the most part, when you think about the liberal arts, for example, in communication, we have 3 communication courses that we offer on a somewhat regular basis. And if someone were on a pathway for communication, in many ways, that would mean that these courses would have to be offered, whereas it wouldn't necessarily be dependent on, whether or not the course has been marketed properly. I think what's nice about putting the map together is that if students are on a path, then we know that those courses need to be offered, and we can start to figure out how to make that happen um, for the student that is on that path. So the other thing is that several years ago, we had already started thinking about guided pathways, and Dean Kevin Lee had asked folks to sort of pick everyone's electives and make sort of a list of recommended electives, and we're no longer recommending the electives on the current maps. So I think that in the previous incarnation, Hillary, just to answer your question, people sort of had to figure out how to get their course as a recommended elective on another department's map or listing, and that sort of seems also arbitrary. So we're really trying to figure out how to make decisions about this. And one of the ways we want to make decisions is taking a look at what is being assessed, what is being taught in the courses when we're looking at a rounded liberal arts degree. So advisors are trained professional student success professionals. They're highly trained, highly educated individuals. So the idea is that if we can get enough advisors to work with the amount of students that we have coming in, and to be a primary contact and support for that person making the map, that they will be able to guide them to pick the classes that they can take that will give them this liberal arts degree, with with the idea that we have this larger sort of yes, thank you, Jean, for your message. Does that answer your question, Hillary? there's been some reluctance, but some folks feel very, very happy about it.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Thanks, Lisa.
I said, I think the main thing is that we're giving opportunity, and not just giving opportunity, it is a collaborative process. And when we looked at the research from other colleges who've done its success, we did look at it. We talked with them in other conferences, the Dream Conference, the colleges shared what worked with, the way they have been able to be successful. And so we approach, and one of the things that they shared, it's definitely you want faculty on board. So all the efforts have been the vetting meetings. That's why they have we created that platform that faculty are looking at that, ensuring the drafts that the mapping work group has created makes sense. So it has been and again, Lisa, what you've shared, she's been more meetings, and I've also joined some of the vetting meetings. I think maybe I started with thinking, oh, why this is just not going to sit well. I think from that perspective, from some of the emails that I've gotten, some initial emails were confusing, but then they appreciated the opportunity to have this conversations and come to a consensus, and having that, what Lisa mentioned, a rubric, principles laid out at front helped. And yes, it's possible, right? And as Lisa mentioned, that it's 100% not everybody is happy at this moment, but they are on board. I'm not sensing as much of I don't know why we're doing this. I think everybody understands why we're doing this, but some of these things will get clear, as Lisa mentioned, when some of the scheduling will start happening. I think overall I'm sensing faculty buy-in, but I'm sure there are individual departments and individual faculty that are not 100% sure. And we have made this a very open opportunity. You want to meet twice? Yeah, and that has been very helpful. You want to, before we send it to curriculum, would you like to meet again? Would you like to meet? So that's always there.
Right.
So that has been helpful.
And just to add to that, I think that one of the ways we created the maps is we looked at transferability. We looked at the top institutions of transferability, and often faculty, if they were asked to make this map, they aren't necessarily as adept at looking at transferology, the transfer guides. This is like it's like you need to have 3 or 4 screens going at once to really put it together. So I think in the past, when faculty have created maps, they may not have been the best person to make the map. And so one of the things that's happening in these dialogues we're having with faculty is that we're understanding the perspective of the faculty member thinking.
I think we lost you for a few seconds, Lisa. Lisa, I'm not able to hear you. Oh, I see she's reconnecting. So while she's trying to reconnect, I welcome any other. I know we're reaching 4 o'clock. Any other parting thoughts? And if Lisa is able to reconnect, she'll share her thoughts further. If not, thank you so much for Lisa. So please carry on now. I was just telling. Yes, go ahead. No. Okay.
I just wanted to take the opportunity to really thank you and the Guided Pathways Steering Committee. I mean, this undertaking is enormous. There's really no aspect of the college that it doesn't touch. It's huge, and you guys have been doing a really fantastic job, and we're already seeing the fruits of your efforts impacting our students positively. So I really, now, you've set the bar very high. So I hope to continue, but I've really been inspired by the work you've been doing, and it's really a great, it's like one of the things we can point to as a great, and thanks, Lisa, as a huge college-wide success. So in terms of what kinds of things done well and have like multiple cross collaboration, silo busting efforts. So kudos.
Thank you, Hillary. And I like the silo busting. I didn't mention it, but it really it forces us to collaborate. And, you know, even if you look at the structure of the committee where we're just, you know, we're learning from each other. One of the really good things that has happened is that it's really brought student affairs and academics together in the steering committee and in the work group. So yes, absolutely. So thank you, Hillary. It has